everybody, a warm welcome to another interview on Wisdom from North. My name is Jannecke and I'm very excited to be here with Rebecca Campbell today. Rebecca is the author of this book, Light is the New Black, which I've just read. It's so inspiring. In Norwegian, lysarbeider I den nye tiden. And it's a guidebook for a new breed of women who are here to shine their light, who have agreed to be in this time in history, basically modern day light workers. And we're going to speak about that today. And Rebecca is also a devotional artist. She is a best-selling author of numerous books and oracle decks. And she has workshops internationally, online courses, and a membership. Hello, Rebecca. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. So nice to be here with you.
I'm very excited to be here as well. And this book has inspired me a lot. You speak about rise, sister, rise, and that speaks to me because I've also felt that there's something within me that has to come out. But I'd love to start with your journey before we go into, our soul's calling, because I know that you had reached in a way what you set out for. You were very successful in advertising, and then you felt empty, and you really met some darkness. So how did that journey map itself out in a sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I was really young, I was quite sensitive, quite open to, I guess, my intuition, and had some quite significant awakening experiences. But at the time, because I was so young and because I guess like no one in my life was really like spoke that language, I just didn't really know where to put it. I couldn't see, while I could feel that I was being called towards it, I didn't know what to do with it. I felt a little bit weird. It was all just a little bit kind of too much. And so while spirituality, studying the journey of the soul and all of that, and Akashic records, past lives, couldn't get enough of it. And I did have visions of the life I've got now, but I couldn't figure out how to make it happen. And that is the first clue, because I was like, how do I make this happen? And that was the problem. And so when I was working out what I'm going to do when I grow up, when you're finishing school and all of that, I just decided media was like a big industry at the time. And so I was very creative, loved communication. And so I ended up going into communication, studying media, and working as a creative, coming up with ideas for companies, essentially. And it was fun. I loved wearing nice clothes. I loved traveling like most 20-year-olds do. And I followed just the classic path of, working for your career and looking for the relationship and saving up money and all of that kind of stuff, all the things that you're meant to do. And I was very driven in my career as well. I always knew that I wanted to contribute. And I was working with the concept of light worker, and I wanted my creations to have a positive impact, but I was kind of doing it in an undercover way. And when I look back, it was really, really hard work. And as every year progressed, I felt like I got deeper and deeper in, like I'd invested more and more and more in this career, and it was feeling more and more and more soulless. And I got to the point when it was just before my 30th birthday, the lead up to in that final year, and I'd been feeling it for many years, and I just knew that the life I'd consciously created wasn't in alignment with who I was. And you could say I was blessed through rock bottoms, or you could say I was cursed through them. Both are true. But in a very short amount of time, the whole life just kind of crumbled around me. And in that moment of really heartbreak and just deep grief, really, it was there where my own personal willpower just lost all strength. And I finally got the courage to surrender to the call and whisper of my soul, and really surrender to that mysterious force that I believe is always whispering to all of us. And yeah, so in that moment, it was really in those dark, dark moments that I was like, okay, I beg for mercy, please lead me. And it was really a baby step by baby step of listening and acting, listening, acting, listening, acting. And from there, things happened, you could say quickly, but not really when you look at like the actual actions every single day. But that was really like the bridge moment for me.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that you're sharing in the book how dark it really was, because I think a lot of people can identify with that, how dark it can be at times. And then it's so inspirational to see, wow, when you start going within and not just going without,
Right.
all of a sudden you can hear something. But you actually heard a voice or something similar said that you were going to Chicago to see Sonia Choquette, right?
Right. Yeah. So that was, and I think it's good to clarify that, like, it was like, when you say rock bottom moments, it's never one. So that was one of many whispers I received over like a 6-month period. So, because I think when people hear other people's stories, it can sound like, and then there was a voice from God and that changed everything. But yeah, that was one of the many things where it was like receiving this intuition and following the invisible trail, not knowing what it even means, and then understanding what it means and then acting. And I think this is what happens when we fully surrender to the intuition, the voice within. And I believe the voice within is often a whisper. It's subtle. It's very rarely this big bellowing external voice, you know? And so that's why it's like sometimes it does take those moments where everything's being ripped out of our lives, or we're in that despair, because every part of us that has been fighting against it is just exhausted. And it's just like, okay, I give up now. And that's when the spirit, you could say, can come in.
Yeah. So do you think we all have a specific mission or a soul's calling in life?
Mm-hmm. That's such a good question. I feel like I'm constantly, my answer isn't constantly changing. It's just I'm more and more curious to it. I used to think 100% yes, but I think that there are some people who are here, and you could say that this is their mission, just to physically be here. And then there's others who have, say, like a double mission, where it's to personally grow, like individually as souls, as well as contribute to some other like group collective mission. And then there's others who are here to grow individually as souls. So I feel like it exists on a continuum rather than it being like a yes or no type answer. Yeah.
You speak a lot about light workers, and you encourage women to rise. So what is a light worker for you?
So a light worker is anyone who is really willing to be in harmony with life, right? So it's someone who is like, you know what, I want to be a positive presence in the world. I think there's some light workers who say came in with this thing of like, this is what I'm here to do, whether or not they fully remember it. But I think some light workers are here purpose driven, as in, I'm here to, like you with your amazing work that you do. It's like, that's clearly something you came in with, right? Would you agree?
Yes, it was a tough road getting
there. It's never not a tough road, but it's the process of remembering and getting to that point. And then there's other people who perhaps like it doesn't have to be this like thing that they have to do. You know, so I'm thinking of several people in my life where it's like they've never had that like drive of like, oh my gosh, there's this thing I need to do, but they are light workers, you know. And you don't have to be a coach, a healer, a singer or whatever to be a light worker. Like you can be it by gardening, you can be it just by praying in your living room, you can be it by being like my husband's mother is she's a light worker within her community, and she doesn't even know what the term is. Maybe she does, she has, because she's read my books. But you know, we don't have to understand and use the term light worker to be that.
Yeah, I think that's such an important distinguishment, that we don't have to put this pressure on ourselves that we have to, you know, speak in front of a lot of people to be a light worker, to raise their consciousness. So that you can be a beautiful mother just doing that,
Right.
or just anything. Just express yourself and be who you are. Be the light that you are. There are a lot of people who have written me and said, you know, you talk about following my inner voice and intuition, but I don't feel like I can find it. Like, I don't find that inner voice. I don't know what my soul wants. And they feel a lot of frustration. What would you say to those people who are troubled with listening to their whisper or their soul's calling?
Well, I think the first thing to realize is that there's many different types of intuition. Like, intuition speaks to us, and to me, it's our soul speaks to us through our senses. So it's our body that's intuitive. And so I know that we use the phrase a lot, soul's whispers, the soul's whisper, what's your inner voice saying? So that suggests that it's a voice, like and which is called clairaudience. Now, that's not the only clair. So it means basically clear hearing, inner hearing. There's also clairvoyance, which is the most popular, which is clear seeing. Claircognizance, which is just the knowing. Like, if you kind of like, you think of someone, just they pop into your mind. You're like, someone's name or whatever it is, and then the phone rings and it is that person. That's the claircognizance. Then there's clairsentience, which is the clear feeling. Now, all of these senses, some people have them really turned up, and it is this like big, like sound or vision or whatever. That's very, very rare. All of us have those messages through our senses. We just don't have the confidence to trust them when they come, and we think it's our imagination. And so when I studied intuition, and I feel like I'm constantly, never will stop, it's like I was taught as if it's like going to the gym and doing weights. Like, the more you work with your inner vision, the clearer it gets. The more you work with each different sense, the clearer it gets. And also, the more you notice when you receive those visions and whispers and feelings and knowings, then again, it's like a relationship. You get to recognize the voice or what someone looks like or their presence or what they smell like. You get to that does increase. And so if anyone is like, I don't feel like I am intuitive or I'm receiving intuition, you will be. It's just differentiating between the imagination and the mind and the intuition.
So how do you experience your intuition, if you can give some examples?
So it really varies, and it varies over time. My number one used to be clairsentience, which is the clear feeling, so the empathic one. But I always was so confused by it because I didn't know the difference between others' feelings and my feelings and all of that. So that was a big process for me. And also clearing out at the end of the day so that, again, it's a clear palette for me to sense on. When I write, I very much clairaudient. I write best in, so that's clear hearing. I write best in nature because it kind of gets me out of my head in a way. And I write best when I'm walking as well, because if I'm sitting down, it's like I'm trying to get something. Whereas when I'm in that motion of flow, then I'll hear one word and then another and then another. And it's like pulling like a golden thread. Now, that has always been my process with writing, but I never recognized that was my process for writing until I began to walk and write when I walked. I'm trying to think what else. So in my previous career, and I use it now as well as a creative, so I'd come up with conceptual ideas. I was using my clear knowing for that, because I'd be in the shower and I'd release the creative brief that I was working on, and all of a sudden the idea would drop into my head out of nowhere. Have you had that before?
Yeah, I was just thinking of dreams now because I'm very interested in dreams, and I'm doing this dream course now. And the more I focus on my dreams, the more I remember them. The
Right.
more I talk about lucid dreaming, the more I get lucid dreaming. So it's definitely that focusing on it, then it will grow. And I was standing in my shower as well. I was like, I can't remember my dreams. And then I started showering and they just popped.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I love that. And then like with the clairvoyancy, again, same thing. I think what stops people from trusting it is that we expect to see this vision outside of ourselves. But in my experience, it's more of an inner vision. And this is why it can be confusing with imagination. As far as I'm concerned, we're using the same senses to create as well as intuit, right? So when we're working up those muscles, don't worry if you're like, oh, maybe imagine that. Maybe I just go with it, just trust it. And so like if we were to right now, with our eyes open, imagine like a zebra with black and white stripes, and then we'll turn the black stripes gold and then hot pink. We're using our inner vision. And so that is clairvoyancy, but because some people don't see it like a big angel in front of us, some people doubt it, but we're constantly using that vision as well. So I'd say the first thing, if anyone's wanting to deepen their intuition, or they're feeling like they're not intuitive, is to just really document how you're receiving information through your senses: hearing, seeing, feeling, smelling, even tasting. There's a bit of more of a weird one, but quite common actually. Yeah.
Exciting. So, would you say it's important that we protect our energy? Some teachers talk about that protecting our energy is very important, while others say, no, you don't need to do that, because when you do that, it's you if we take in law of attraction, then you'll send out fear in a sense that I need to protect my energy, and then you protect your energy.
Such a good question. Oh my gosh. I think that when we're like, oh, I need to protect myself, I think, yeah, we can get into that fear space. And also we can get into like the drama a little bit of like, I'm sensitive and I'm this and I'm that. And don't get me wrong, I'm like, I am sensitive, and I'm sure so many on the call are sensitive. But I think for really highly sensitive people, I think one thing which is probably needed, like with an action, is to be very clear on your boundaries. So it doesn't have to be as in like I have to fight against everyone in the world, but it's just like, where am I letting energy in that actually isn't what I want? And so that can be a good way of kind of like drawing that protective space without it being like the world is after me, you know? And yeah, like I 100% believe, particularly with highly sensitives, like we do need to protect ourselves in some ways, but it doesn't have to be in that victim kind of sense, as in like the world is out to get me. So yeah, I find that's a really hard one to talk about, because I think also like one approach to protection too is, some people say that say light is the most powerful force ever. So one of my favorite protection tools is one called Pillar of Light, where you connect yourself from source, unlimited supply, down your spine, into the center of the earth, up and down, and work it so it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So you're not kind of like all the time trying to bat things away, rather you're strengthening your system. But yeah, it's a challenging one. That I think also emptying out at the end of the day is an important one to do. So just like scanning wherever, because often where we have our issues or our wounds, that is where that external energy goes to, or we attract, right, to help us work more on that. So that's another way of kind of doing it without feeling like the whole world is after us.
Yeah, because you said in the book that the more we expand our consciousness or go into our soul's calling, the more sensitive we get towards harsh environments. And that resonated with me because I felt I was much more tougher before.
Right. It's so interesting. And what do you feel about protection?
Well, I go to the school in Oslo, and then we protect ourselves all the time. But it's not a practice that I do regularly, but I can feel sometimes that if I come into a harsh environment, that it's difficult to be there, and then it can help to either have a light around me or either like a mirror around me, so everything bounces off of the others, or a temple around me, or a rose, like so I can use it if I feel a bit vulnerable and sensitive.
Yeah, I really hear you with that. And I think also, like, as we're being called to do different things as well, we need that extra, because another way of saying protection is support as well. So for example, when I used to teach smaller groups, it was just me, right? And then I was doing bigger groups, and it was just me. And now, just recently, I've been like, no, I need a team there to help me hold the space. And you could say that's in a way of protecting, but I'm not like, as in like, protect me from other people, but it's like creating that container so that there's room to breathe within it, you know, so you're not kind of feeling like you're being taken down. Such an interesting topic.
Right, because it's about perspective. That's much more an empowering perspective, instead of I'm afraid I am in danger, so I need to protect myself. But if I am in danger, if I feel that, then I'm actually visualizing these big animals, like these big jaguars.
Jaguars, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, the tracker, I love it. Yeah, I surround myself in this like dome of light and call in that Christos, like Christed energy, the Archangel Michael type energy, just like, yeah. So there's that form of protection too, and that is needed.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So what are you working on right now? What is next for you?
I'm working on a new oracle deck, the Starseed Oracle, actually, and I'm writing my third book. So yeah, I'm in the creative zone right now.
Nice. All the best with that. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
And thank you so much for watching, everybody. And remember to subscribe to both our YouTube channels if you haven't before. Much light from the UK and Norway. Bye-bye.
Bye.